I want to start this video by saying a huge thank you to Mitten Squad and Nurbit, whose own challenge video content inspired me to have a go. If either of you guys end up watching this video, then oh my god, hi! There are a number of weapons available to the Vault Dweller, hero of the original and let's face it, one of the best Fallout games ever made. From pistols to cattle prods, miniguns to Gatling lasers, as well as a plethora of grenades and explosives you can use to negotiate your way into and out of most situations. But what if you were interested only in using the weapons Yo Mama gave you? That is to say, just your fists. So today in my first ever gaming challenge video, I seek to answer that very question. Can you beat Fallout without using any weapons? The rules of this run are simple. I cannot use any weapons other than unarmed to kill enemies. NPC damage and kills with weapons are permitted as it's not me doing it. With that in mind, I named myself Fisto, which seemed appropriate, and picked an age which may or may not correlate to my own. My goal in character creation was to hit hard and hit often, so I favoured 10 agility to get 10 AP and 8 strength to up my damage output, knowing this can be maxed with power armour and operations later on. Traits-wise, I opted for Fast Shot to hit for 1 less AP at the cost of not being able to use this game's version of VATS, which is no big loss in an unarmed only game, and One-Hander to get a plus 20% chance to hit with one-handed weapons including unarmed, with a 40% penalty to two-handed weapons, which wouldn't affect me in the slightest. 2 win-win traits in my opinion. Tag skills would be, you guessed it, unarmed to improve my hand-to-hand effectiveness, speech to open up additional dialogue options, as I suspected at this point I may need to talk my way out of certain situations, and first aid, as self-healing would be a must, as stimpaks are nowhere near as plentiful in this game, and fights are going to drag on a lot longer than if I could just start blasting away at people with one of the aforementioned guns. The story of Fallout, for those who are uninitiated, is thus. You are the Vault Dweller, chosen as the best chance to find and replace the Vault's faulty water chip, which provides the denizens with, and you won't believe this, clean drinking water. Naturally, this implies a certain time limit as the Vault's supply of water is running out, and in-game this is recognised as 150 days. This may seem a lot, but travelling on the world map can see your character eat up days as they walk from place to place in just a handful of real-life seconds. I was concerned going into this challenge that the relatively low damage output of Unarmed would make fights longer and consequently cost me even more time. However, the only way to know is to try, so being the first to step out of Vault 13 in a century, I take my first step into the challenge. I decide to take care of Vault 13's rat problem for some easy XP and to ensure it passes its next inspection from the Health and Safety Executive. I take a moment to enjoy this fourth wall breaking message before exiting to the world map for the first time. I head in the direction of Vault 15, but stop at nearby Shady Sands for info, XP, and to trade away handfuls of stuff which are useless to me, such as ammo and weapons. I help myself to some skill books and items left lying around and get my first level up after helping with crop rotation, sinking the points mostly into unarmed and speech, with a few points here and there. I rob the doctor, tell him of my plan to kill the nearby rad scorpions, and trade away more stuff for stimpaks and caps. I make my way to Vault 15 and have my first real combat challenge on the opening map, a rad scorpion. The fight takes a while and I definitely get poisoned, but eventually I manage to kill it before stealing its ass to turn into an antidote later on. I make my way through the cave and to the vault entrance, killing the critters for more easy XP. The lower levels of the vault are spent looting as much as I can and killing pig rats, which I always mentally translated to mole rats because Fallout 3 was my first Fallout game and I guess I've brought with me creature name bias. I pick up some new threads, beat the crap out of more furries, and level up after discovering the passageway is blocked to the control room, meaning no water chip. For goodness sake! But all is not lost as I get my first perk from this level up and choose bonus hand-to-hand for a tasty +2 to melee damage.
Nice.
I zip back to Shady Sands, get the doc to whip up some antidote and heal the sick guy in the back for some more decent XP. I head to the Rad Scorpion caves to punch the crap out of each of the Rad Scorpions one by one, as that nets higher XP than using explosives at the cave entrance to seal them off instead. Plus, that would seem too much like a weapon usage and would likely invalidate the challenge. I return and tell Aradesh that punching 9 Rad Scorpions to death with my bare fists was nothing, and decide to head back to Vault 13 for a bit to trigger the Tandy the kidnap quest for when I head back to Shady Sands. While I'm there, I gain some extra XP for playing World of Warcraft on the computers in the library, get denied access to the security room, and tell the Overseer I've not found a replacement water chip yet before K-Thanks buying myself back to Shady Sands, where Tandy's been pilfered by raiders. I promise to get it back and head south to the Khans. Whilst there is a speech way out of this situation, I decide leaving the other slaves behind is a douche move, so opt for taking on the entire raider clan with my punches and kicks instead. I level up again, which was ideal, and slowly fight my way to the raiders' leader, Garl. We have an epic battle which ends in Garl running away like something from a Benny Hill short. But I catch up to him, finally kill him, thank God for 10 AP, clean up the remaining raiders, loot everything, free Tandy and the slaves. I deliver her back to Shady Sands, netting some more tasty XP before finally moving on to Junktown. I arrive at Junktown without incident, do some shopping to stock up on stimpaks, and insert myself between local Sheriff Killian and an assassin before agreeing to go undercover to put a stop to the nefarious deeds of Gizmo. No, not that one. I burst into his office with a tape recorder strapped to my chest and get him to hire me to kill Killian instead. Ha! Gotcha, you fat pixely bastard! I return to Killian to tell him the good news and agree to tag along to provide a bit of frontier justice to Gizmo. In spite of the weapons being discharged left, right and centre, I run straight up to Gizmo and start pummeling him in the face like the total badass I am. I kill him with a final blow so powerful it goes not only right through his chest but through the back of his chair as well, leading me into a false sense of security that this challenge will be a doddle. After, I agree to help Junktown with its Skulls gang problem, hoping to tick another quest off my list for the XP grind, but do something really stupid shortly afterwards. I pick a fight with Shark in the Scum Pit bar and kill him without a second thought, not realising the domino effect this action would trigger later on. I decide to hit the sack and talk a raider out of a hostage situation, which nets me another level up to boost my HP and related skills. Now, my plan was to talk Sherry out of a life of being a gangbanger, getting her to testify against the Skulls and closing the quest nicely. However, she was hostile to me instead. I realised this was because I killed Shark earlier, and now I had no choice but to punch and kick the Skulls gang into submission instead. Fine. After doing that, however, I realised that the residents of Junktown must have been quite fond of Sherry, gangbanger or not, as now everyone in Junktown was hostile to me. Rather than punch these good people for having the audacity to protect one of their own, I flee Junktown, tail between my legs, head down against a hail of gunfire and angry shouts.
I'll be back.
I continue south to the hub, where my exploits for beating up gangsters isn't known, and trade the majority of my loot for caps and stimpaks. I pick up a few quests as well as a crapload of reading material because my Kindle ran out of battery shortly after the bombs fell, and knowing how to set a broken leg is only going to be a benefit to me. I stand in place for a few weeks reading skill book after skill book like some crazy bibliophile, and after a bit more skullduggery, head east to Necropolis. I greet the feral ghouls dotted about with my karate chops before deciding to go underground for some reason, where I was met by more baddies who wanted to be removed from living one punch at a time. I meet a group of friendly ghouls who inform me that there is actually a working water chip nearby, and my hopes finally rising, we agree that if I fix their broken water pump, I can have it. I make my way through the maze-like sewers until I get back to the surface and the watershed, which leads me to the broken water pump. I talk my way past the super mutant, which isn't too hard because they're stupid, and get to work fixing the water pump. Eventually it turns out I need a new fuse, so after freeing a nearby prisoner who tells me the entrance to the vault with the water chip in, I make my way back to the sewers to find a pile of junk that will have a fuse in it. I take care to kick the crap out of any and everything that gets in my way because the XP grind is real, although not as real as it would get later on. Ugh. I fix the water pump and head to the vault to claim my prize, taking special care to fight the glowing boys who stand in my way. I hit level 6 whilst down in the vault and take probably the most useful perk to date, bonus hand-to-hand attacks. Now what this does is make my attacks cost 2 AP instead of 3, meaning with a full stack of 10 AP I can now unleash 5 punches and kicks per turn instead of 3. Boom! Yes, this would be instrumental in the trials and tribulations that would come. I head down to level 3 of the vault, waltz past some non-hostile glowy boys to the only functioning computer and grab myself a water chip. Hooray! I hightail it back to Vault 13 to deliver the water chip, have a bath, and to complete the challenge. I try to install the water chip, but the game says no because the Overseer wants to do it himself. I hit level 7, and despite it being the end of the game and the challenge, the Overseer has more work for me. Apparently, the mutants I wrote about in my report have given him cause for concern, and now he wants me to single-handedly destroy the source of them. Gee, thanks! I decide if I'm going to be taking on an army of green meanies, it's time to get some serious protection, so decide that I'm going to join up with the Brotherhood of Steel, who are actually pretty decent in this game, to gain access to power armor and an option to increase my special stats incrementally. Before the Brotherhood of Steel will let me sign up, however, I have to complete a quest to prove that I've got the grit to join, since apparently punching my way through every enemy I've ever encountered isn't enough for them. I'm told to head to the Glow and bring something back to prove I was there.
Off to the Glow we go.
Popping 2 Radex on the world map just before entering the Glow to combat the harsh radiation, I reach the entrance, tie a rope to a steel beam, and descend into the darkness. I systematically make my way through the first level, looting everything like the rabid kleptomaniac I am, and grabbing the quest item from the dead Brotherhood of Steel soldier. I could return now, but the Glow offers too much decent loot to pass up, as well as more chances to grind XP from the robots, who, deactivated, are unable to fight back but still give experience for killing. I loot my way down each level, have a conversation with a supercomputer, fix the generator to restore power and grant access to the elusive floor 5. I reach level 8, get close to stat maxing Unarmed, get myself some sweet new armor and gear before running away from the now activated robots who want to avenge their fallen metal brethren. Back on the surface, I head straight to the hub again to sell the stuff I can't use for caps and skill books, spend another month reading book after book like some crazed knowledge vampire before jingling like Father Christmas from all the caps I'm carrying back to the Brotherhood of Steel. I return, much to their surprise, become an initiate, observe a few rounds in the gym for some free skill points in unarmed and melee weapons before heading downstairs to go under the knife. I increase my endurance, charisma and strength by 1, all the while losing time on the clock I didn't think would be valuable. I head down another level and begin setting the wheels in motion to getting myself a set of power armor. Kyle tells me I can fix up the broken power armor on the table if I can get myself a systolic motivator, one of which is in the possession of Grumpy Knight Rhombus. I kill some time by doing a few minor quests for some easy XP and skill increases within the base before noticing Rhombus admiring his shiny metal buns in his bathroom mirror. I enter his room, nick the systolic motivator, and just make it out by the skin of my teeth without getting caught. I won't lie, seeing that tiny 2D sprite slowly stomp after me actually got my heart rate up. I return to the broken power armor, turn it into fixed power armor, and promptly begin wearing it as a second skin. I head down to 4 to initiate an easy quest for the Brotherhood, and one which will net me a fighting chance at Mariposa a little later on. I make my way back to the hub to sell more of the loot for caps and to find the missing Brotherhood initiate. I enter the building where he's being held and begin the closest thing to a boss fight I've had all game. These guys weren't tough per se, but my god did they take ages to pummel to death, and that's with half of them running away when they got too close to the light. I free the initiate, chase the stragglers down and head back to the Brotherhood bunker. I cash in the initiate quest, increase my strength by another 1 and go to the military base to satisfy the quest conditions for the Elder. I return again, cash that quest in, level up, select rank 2 of the hand-to-hand bonus damage perk, and convince the Brotherhood of Steel to send some soldiers with me to destroy the military base. Now, my plan before taking on the military base was to do a few quests in Boneyard, gain the excellent hardened power armor, and maybe tussle with some Deathclaws. However, when I got there, everyone was dead and the super mutants had taken over. Crap. I'd wasted too much time getting muscle implants in my gluteus maximus, now a whole town, its quests and rewardable items were just gone. I hoped at this point this wouldn't set me back later on heading towards the endgame, and spoiler alert, it did. I return to the hub instead, complete my ritual of selling stuff for caps, have a chat with Harold. For those of you new to Fallout 1, yes, this is the same Harold that turns into a tree in Fallout 3, and decide I still want to try my hand at a Deathclaw. Slappy takes me to its cave, which alone nets me some nice XP, and I'm mentally prepared to punch the Deathclaw in the mouth. A lot. The battle takes me around 5 minutes, but between the power armor, the occasional critical hits, and a gazillion stimpaks, I managed to beat him. Hooray! I cash in the related quest back at the hub, banking some more tasty XP, and decide it's time to take care of the VATs over at the Mariposa military base. 3 Brotherhood of Steel Knights join me on this quest, and honestly, I'm grateful. The super mutants are easily felled by their rockets and miniguns, and I'm just stood back rubbing my knuckles and collecting the XP like I'm actually doing something. I won't do a blow-by-blow account of everything that happened here, but to summarise, we kill most of the super mutants, I lose all 3 of my Brotherhood of Steel buddies, loot as much as I can without risk of getting a rocket up the bum, and hit level 10. When my last buddy dies, I go it alone, make my way to the VATS control room, and spend a few minutes trying to figure out how to destroy them. I find the correct terminal, accidentally give myself 1 second to escape, and destroy the VATS.
Hooray!
Reloading and choosing the correct option for a time limit with an actual fighting chance this time, I begin the countdown and start running frantically away. As my brothers in arms, rest in peace, had done an excellent job mopping up the super mutants, making my way back through the base unaccosted was easy. I returned to the entrance, realised there was 1 Brotherhood of Steel Knight left after all, where were you earlier? And destroy the VATS.
Hooray!
I returned to the Brotherhood base, hit level 11, and get another point surgically implanted in Charisma. I decide now's as good a time as any to beat the Master and therefore the game and challenge, and so do 1 final selling spree at the hub before heading to the Cathedral. In my infinite wisdom, I think I'm tough enough to just simply waltz into the Cathedral, arms swinging and get away with it, then promptly get my ass handed to me. Reloading, I decide to go undercover, nab myself a pair of funky purple robes from the shopkeep who just happened to run into my fists, and make my way down into the Master's vault. I convince a group of loons to give me a psychic nullifier which will prevent some nasty stat loss upon walking up to the Master, and head down to the lower levels of the vault to confront the man himself. The gooey thing himself. Itself. Whether having the option to speech him to death or not, I knew going into this challenge I wanted to fist the Master to death myself. No, that sounds weird. I wanted to punch the Master to death, because what more fitting an end to an unarmed only challenge than to kill the final boss with my unarms? I choose a speech option that will allow me to move freely again, also unknowingly glitching the pre-battle somewhat, which would be an advantage later on, before getting my first taste of what the Master had to offer. In 1 hit, he reduces my 73 HP to 1 before a robot anally probes me to death. I reload and try again with power armor this time, but no luck. I'm killed easily and without doing any noticeable damage to the Master. How much HP does he have anyway?
Oh my god! No! No! No!
500 HP. Gee! To make matters worse, every few rounds a special extra tough super mutant spawns into the arena to take me from behind, and whilst a lot of them fall as collateral damage to the Master's own weapon fire, the combined onslaught plus my low damage output and finite amount of stimpaks makes the prospects of being able to punch the Master into submission unlikely. I can't even go the speech route, which would seem like a massive cop-out for the challenge at this point, or manually explode the vault, because the key item to do that is currently a pile of ashes under what used to be Mariposa. I realise there is a way to science and lockpick your way to blowing up the vault, but that would be anticlimactic. Was this the end of the challenge then? My first and only attempt was to be a failure. Death after death after death. I'll admit I came close to just giving up. But then, after doing a bit of research, I had the answer, or at least, a new hope. Running away like a sissy and being chased back to the lift by every hostile thing on level 3, I escape and make my way back to Junktown with 1 goal: to kill and to loot. I kill every hostile entity that crosses my path with my heavy metal blows, raid Killian's safe for the caps and XP, before heading to the mutant-infested LA Boneyard, making sure to fight my way out of every encounter on the world map along the way. I kick and punch my way through every mutant, looting stimpaks from the now vanished corpses of the Boneyard's residents until there's nothing left worth taking or beating to a pulp. I then head back to Shady Sands, thankfully not to act on my new status as some crazy metal lunatic who punches first and asks questions later, but to get myself some company. Ian in tow, we head to the hub to sell, to blackmail Bob, as well as buying some iguana bits, and to free a farmstead from some raiders. Having Ian means this process is just faster, as now more than ever I was conscious of the time frame, as more and more settlements would be overrun by the mutants in due course. We complete that quest, bank the XP, and make haste back to Junktown to get a very good boy. 2 companions by my side makes clearing up the remaining hostilities in Junktown a nice, swift process, and any and all XP gained from the genocide of an entire town is simply a bonus. After a bit of trial and error, I put my plan into motion, a frontal assault on the Master with my 2 companions by my side. I went into this more aggressive plan with high hopes, which were decidedly diminished by the time we made it to the entrance to the vault. Dogmeat was dead, Ian and I were wounded, and our stimpak reserves had depleted noticeably. This was not going to work. The combined forces were just too much. There's no way we could fight our way to the Master and still have enough stimpaks to survive his assault. It was just unfeasible without some heavy firepower to back it up, and that would invalidate the challenge. I slumped back in my chair, defeated, cursing myself for thinking that such a challenge was possible. I was about to give up, for real this time, when something told me to go back to the wiki, have a look, there must be something I could do. And lo and behold, there was. Yes, something that might just work. It would take a lot to get there, but damn it, I was willing to try. At level 18, there is a perk that becomes available for those with high strength and agility, Slayer. This little beaut of a perk turns every unarmed attack into a critical hit. That means I could potentially be hitting upwards of 25-30 damage on the Master and even higher on other regular enemies. Plus, I could take another perk at level 15 and the HP increase I'd see from each subsequent level up on the way would only give me more to play with in the final battle. It was my last hope, my only real chance of seeing this challenge through to its conclusion. The catch though was the grind. Level 18 might not seem a lot, but 21 is the max level. This was like the equivalent of getting to level 85 on a game, where the cap is 100. There were not many, if any, quests left for me to complete, and I'd already cleared out many hostile maps of mutants and enemies. That left the random encounters on the world map as my only really viable option for grinding. So, I got to work. I stuck to the west side of the map as there seemed to be higher level mobs here, which would ultimately yield the highest XP returns. At level 15 I took the Dodger perk, making me harder to hit and adding a +5 to my armor class. I had taken the third and final rank of bonus hand-to-hand damage at level 12, and my Unarmed was maxed out at 200%. A few hours that felt like days later, mercifully Ian and I were ambushed by a family of rad scorpions out for an evening stroll, and rather than just kill the two parents and risk leaving the child to grow up and become, I don't know, bat scorpion, we killed them all, and finally I hit level 18. I take the Slayer perk, obviously, and decide to dismiss Ian for one reason, and one reason only. This challenge has, for the most part, been a solo endeavour, and whilst I used companions to speed up the levelling process late game, I wanted to punch the Master into submission myself. I didn't want a stray bullet from Ian to land the killing blow. No, it had to be me. Returning to the cathedral, I take advantage of being able to be fast-tracked back to the Master, bypassing all the enemies, by telling Morpheus on floor 3 that I have info about a vault. Because we glitched out the Master on our first encounter, I am now able to roam his chambers without him initiating dialogue, which means I can run right up to him, do my pre-battle prep, and start combat with him in range, meaning I can start the battle with 5 solid hits. This was it. Let me tell you my strategy. It's worth mentioning I had a horde of stimpaks, super stimpaks, and drugs as the spoils from my grinding to take into battle with me. I prepared by popping 2 buff out to increase my endurance, take mentats because why not, and stick myself with 3 psycho in an attempt to boost my damage output. Then I start combat with the aforementioned 5 attacks and pray. Luckily the Slayer perk seems to be doing its job, as I am now doing decent damage to the Master, meaning I may just have a chance. The Master hits considerably harder than me, so more or less for the rest of the fight I would get 3 attacks in and use the remaining 4 AP to access my inventory to heal. The Master's private army of super mutants eventually joined the fray, shooting me from behind, but when they ran out of ammo would try to fist me instead. As I mentioned before, a lot of the time these super mutants would die from friendly fire, so I kept my focus entirely on the Master. On a good round, I was able to do 30 to 40 damage to the gooey boy, which, doing the math, meant I could theoretically beat him in about 17 rounds. Let's increase that to say 21 to account for the lower damage rounds, and I had an idea of how long I had to stick it out for. It may have seemed overkill to heal even with 70 plus HP remaining, but I had seen the sheer unbeatable damage a single critical hit could do to me, buffs and power armor notwithstanding, and that would spell a swift end to the battle. When the Master appeared to be almost dead, I was joined in the arena by 2 soups trying desperately to stop me pummeling their god in the squishy bits. The Master repays their failure by slicing one in half with his Gatling laser, which I can't help but think served as a warning to the remaining super mutant on the price of defeat. I risk a round of 5 attacks with no healing, the Master survives and I get taken down to low health. It doesn't show on the face cam, but this was a very bum clenchy moment for me. I take a super stim to more or less restore me to full health, and kill the Master with one final kick to the face. Yes! This time, the face cam did betray my feelings. With the Master dead, a timer begins signalling the destruction of the vault and cathedral, and now I had the pressing matter of running through legions of baddies to not get turned into a crispy ex-person. Now, full disclosure, this was not the first time I had beaten the Master this challenge. I had succeeded 2 times before, but had actually been killed on the final run through the base to safety by unlucky critical hits that did well over my max HP in damage. I felt it best to tell you this now rather than before the final battle, just because it's cinematically a little more exciting this way. As you can see, every mutant and their pet robot were after me now, and for some reason I made the stupid choice to go through this locker room, promptly getting trapped. There was no fighting my way out of this situation as there just wasn't enough time. I get myself proper wedged between enemies and end up becoming a punching bag for just about all of them, whilst trying frantically to carve a path through before the timer ran out. Eventually, the Mr. Handy in my way hovers away in fear, but his space is replaced immediately by a super mutant. I floor him, but am still unable to move, so begin kicking him whilst he is down. Thankfully, this kills him, and I am able to make some progress forward, until 3 iBots block me instead, for the love of... However, a swift punch knocks one of them back, creating just enough gap for me to run past and out of the locker room towards the lift. If you're American, that's an elevator. I managed to reach the lift without being killed by any critical hits, and mash the button for floor 1. At this point, I change back into my purple disguise so nobody else will try and bug me as the countdown ticks further down every few seconds. I heal the health loss ironically caused by the use of super stimpaks and change back into my power armor once I'm sure the danger is well and truly in my rear. I escape the cathedral map, it blows up behind me, and I return to the entrance of Vault 13 to complete the game. The Overseer greets me, is extremely grateful for saving the human race single-handedly, and just with my hands, and rewards me by banishing me from the vault forever. Cock. I won't lie though, I love how bittersweet this ending of Fallout is. Truly a tale of the sacrifice of a hero and a far cry from the more upbeat endings of other games released at the time. The Overseer turns his back on me, retreats to the vault, and my character makes his way alone back into the Wasteland, downcast, but safe in the knowledge that yes, you can beat Fallout without using any weapons.
Just why would you want to?
Guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of my first gaming challenge. Again, I just have to say a huge thanks to Mitten Squad and Nurbit, who I've both been watching for years. This video simply wouldn't have existed without their channels and content inspiring me to have a pop myself, so please send much love and credit their way, and be sure to sub to them and watch their stuff if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and leave a comment. As always, I shall try to engage commenters as I really appreciate any interaction. If you do sub, then do expect to see more gaming challenges pop up from time to time, as I have a plethora planned, especially of the slightly more retro games, where I have noticed there seems to be a bit of a deficit on YouTube. It's worth noting I am not strictly a gaming channel, so don't be alarmed if you see email scam baiting videos, food related stuff, or even just something uncategorically random. That's just how we roll on the Chris Tries show. Anyway, I think that's enough from me now. I'll end by saying, take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.